Recording.
Oh my God. So we have blown through our initial funding goal and our first stretch goal before we even have a chance to update people or say anything. So first of all, to everybody who's donated already, thank you, 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 thank you so much. It's really yesterday was awesome. And I think we're both a little bit exhausted and worn thin by the adrenaline of launching a Kickstarter. So today we are a bit lower energy, maybe, but we are hugely excited and so excited to spend the next few weeks explaining everything we've been hoping for when it comes to First Curse. So we thought today, since we've blown through a couple of the stretch goals already before we even talked about them because we wanted to be careful and not start talking about stretch goals before we knew if we'd actually make our minimum.
Yep.
Here we go, guys. The real project begins. So we've gone through, we have now unlocked a downloadable version of the original score that will be produced for First Curse.
Already
Tom, do
working
we
on
want
it.
to talk about that for 2 seconds? Because I think that's a really, really cool stretch reward. And I had all kinds of plans for telling people about it and getting people excited. And now it's already done. So before we move on, here's why you should be excited about that.
Yeah, I'm super stoked on the soundtrack. My best and oldest friend, who is also my roommate, will be doing the composing for me. We're going to be building a, I don't want to call it an apprehension engine. It's basically the instrument that they created for the Witch soundtrack.
I don't know
But
what that is at
the,
all. I want more information.
yeah, well, so when they were doing the soundtrack for The Witch, they knew it was just going to be kind of tonal and there's not going to be any instruments. So this guy made a box with a bunch of different tools that kind of just create eerie sounds. Um, but we're going to build a primitive version of that with using real animal bones, turtle shells, rocks, wood planks, basically anything that we think Neanderthal maybe would have sat around a fire banging on to make a little bit of ditty in his mind. We know that they didn't have any string instruments, so string instruments won't fit with the tone of the movie, so we're not going to have them in the soundtrack. But we're going to try and do a analog version of the soundtrack on a bone xylophone, basically. Um,
I'm thrilled for this. I think this is going to
yeah,
be super awesome. And obviously, in horror movies, the sound and the music is always a gigantic part of the show, right? Like it
yeah,
really helps set up that emotional undercurrent of dread or suspense. And so I love that we're doing something very unique with it and something that absolutely fits the time period. Since, I think that's one thing on Reddit yesterday that people asked us was sort of, how are you planning on capturing this feel in a way that isn't funny or, kind of ook. And I think this is kind of part of that answer. We're going to go real hard on making it feel credible because the real version of that world is terrifying. So I'm very thrilled to be able to say that we're already doing that. We've hit that stretch goal. Everybody's getting that. So celebrations, backers, that's the first one, and we will have more information and details about that in the coming weeks. But for now, thank you so much for unlocking that. We are now looking at our next stretch goal at 10,000, and that is a full week of brand new ancient history 5SFs. Obviously, we would love to hit that sooner than later so that we can share those 5SFs sooner than later, but that will be determined by the fates. Um, Not a lot of description there, not a lot of explanation, I guess, necessary. If you're watching this, you probably know what 5SF is. It will do some of that.
yeah,
And I think they're going to be super cool and a lot of fun.
yeah.
But then if we can push past that into our more serious stretch goals, I think maybe now is a good time for us to talk a little bit about the second half of our strategy for getting the feature film of First Curse made. So Tom and I have been working on this for 3 years. We've written a feature and we've kind of created a world around it that we really love. We've chosen to do a short first because we think in order to show people what this could be, we've got to execute it because it's just a very unique idea. It's a hard idea to just describe. And I think we wanted to show people that we could do this and that this could feel horrifying and intense and real in a very engaging way. So we have the opportunity now to do that. But the other half of First Curse is the story that we've come up with over these 3 years. And that feature-length script, that's a 5 to 10 million easy script to realistically make. We're not going to write, we're not Veronica Mars. We're not going to raise $10 million on this Kickstarter. So how do we navigate and create the opportunity to tell you that story at the same time? And we discussed it a lot. We threw a lot of different ideas around. We thought about just showing the script, but honestly, a screenplay that is all action description for a feature-length thing, it's cool. We've gotten great feedback from people who read scripts for a living. It's also it's a full-length screenplay that's all action description. It is a long read. A graphic novel would be way easier to consume and enjoy and see what it is we're really trying to do. And so that is what the stretch goals are going to focus on now. What we're not going to do is do the thing that so many Kickstarters do, where they blow past their funding and they get super excited and they start promising the moon and all kinds of unrealistic things like, oh, we're going to make the feature. We're not going to do that this round. But what we are going to do is tell you the story and share the world by doing something that can be done in a contained way and executed at the level of excellence that we demand for this idea and this project. So the stretch goals are going to focus on the graphic novel. And what we've done is we've sort of broken it up according to what we know we can afford to do to make sure that most of the monies are still going to making the short as excellent as possible, while creating this secondary part of the story so that we can share that all with you, which is, if we hit those goals, we're planning on making a digital version of the graphic novel available to all backers at all levels. That's our goal for all of our stretch goals, is for it to reward everybody who backs us. So we'll have more details about that in the coming weeks, but that's the big thing we want to do, is we would love to tell you the story we've been working on as well, and we would love to do it through the graphic novel approach. And if you're from SMBC Theater, you know that I come from the dark swamp of webcomics circa early 2000s. Tom Jacobson might like graphic novels a little.
I'm just a comic book fan, and to have one that maybe would have my name on it would be a dream come true. But also, it would just be so awesome to flush out the world of the script and really kind of nail that home. And I think doing it in a graphic would be a fantastic, I don't want to say test, but it would let us, like, if there's making a movie's hard and where you're like, oh man, now they're on the cliff's edge, that's hard. But if you do it graphically, you can work through some problems where it's like, oh, maybe they're not on a cliff's edge, maybe they're in a plane, or we can craft the story a little bit more and kind of really dig into it and wrap our brains around some of the more hard to execute scenes. And then when it comes time to make the movie, we basically already have a storyboard kind of worked out. Obviously, things aren't the same from comic book to graphic novel, but if you look at a movie like Scott Pilgrim versus the World, they drew so much from the comic book and basically just kind of had a storyboard laid out for them.
Oh, absolutely. I think that's part of the reason, beyond the fact that the graphic novel in and of itself would be amazing to have, and it would just be so cool to be able to get to do that. It also then becomes maybe the best thing we could ever ask for, is to have a short film that shows that we can do this on film, and a graphic novel that shows the story we're trying to tell when we're going to people to try to raise money to do the full feature. That is a dream situation for us. It makes it much easier to approach people that we know who might be excited by it, but need to see the vision that we're working on. And as with anything, I think you guys discovered this with Dude Bro Party Massacre 3. Obviously, from my playwriting background and my writing background, I do this all the time. There's no such thing as a locked draft until it's actually been shown to people. So the more versions of this we do, the more we work on this story and on this world, the more refined and the more crafted everything becomes. So yeah, if we do a graphic novel before we do a feature, I think inevitably the feature is going to benefit from it in 1,000 different ways that really
Yeah.
make it what we live up to the potential that we think it has. So
Yeah.
I think that's our big thing that we wanted to talk to you guys about. Also, just say thank you for supporting us so far. You guys have already
Yes.
put us. We thought we would be talking about this by maybe week 3 or like the last day of the campaign, and we have the luxury of talking about it on day 2. So that's because of you guys, and we really, really, really appreciate it. Please keep telling your friends. We have a long way to go to be able to tell you the full story of the first curse. So we are not done by any means. There's a lot more that we would love to be able to achieve over the last month, and we can only really do that with you guys, our backers, because you've shown a lot of faith in us, and you're making it possible for us to even consider this. So thank you so very, very much. We're going to have more information coming up. We've got some live events planned for the weekends ahead. We have some special surprise announcements with folks to do over the next month. So please keep your eyes on this space. Keep coming and looking for updates and all this kind of stuff. We're going to have a lot of secondary content. I know we have some footage of Tom hand carving one of the first prototype masks for the first curse. That's something we haven't talked a lot about, but we will be here in the future. Tom is actually handcrafting a number of the key iconic props for the first curse, and I think that's going to be really cool to see. We haven't even shown you guys Tom's workshop yet. We're just getting started. So we love you, Internet. Thank you so very much, and please keep an eye on the space. Please keep sharing and retweeting and all that kind of good stuff. A project this size, 4 or 5 people retweeting us actually makes a huge difference for the number of people that get to see it at all. So thank you.
Follow the
thank
Instagram.
You, thank you. Yes. Oh, and follow us on Instagram. Backers, we have a backers Instagram for the course of the campaign. We're probably going to keep that public, but then we will be making a private Instagram for backers only, where people can kind of get very special behind the scenes updates and all that kind of stuff. But for now, we're going to have it public. We'll have that link in our new update, and you should be able to see some of the props that we're working on, some of the concept art, and just sort of some of the things that we're drawing from in terms of inspiration and tone to get a sense of what this project is. So if you haven't backed the first curse yet, do it today. We will keep surprising you with more stuff that you get. And if you have, man, I was so thrilled by the response yesterday, and we cannot wait to really get this month started. So thank you, everybody.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it very much. And James, I'll be talking to you later.
Yep, we got more stuff to Photoshop. Bye, Internet.
Later, Internet. Thank you.